Don Westfall, Dan McCarter for the final time here in the 14-15 season in the Mavericks. Just keep the roll kind of going here, Dan. And again, we've talked about they win the McNaughton Cup, big win last Saturday over Bemidji State to finish off the regular season championship. And after a fairly easy win last night, not so easy tonight, much better effort for Lake Superior. So as you mentioned, they have something certainly to really cap their season with a better effort against the second-ranked team, Minnesota State, Mankato in their building. But again, Mavericks still end up winning 4-2.
They hung with the Mavericks, one of the best teams in the nation, on their home ice in a must-win situation for Lake Superior State. So they have a lot to be proud of with the way they played tonight, especially after the way things went sour for them last night. But the Mavericks are just clearly a better team all the way around, and they showed it again tonight. They played a rather pedestrian game, and they were ahead 3-2 with 3 minutes to go. The crowd gets a little excited. They finish it off with Marganary, and I think this team has a lot of hockey left to play. Well,
they opened up the next round of the tournament, the Final Five, Friday night. But how they got there, again, 4-2 win tonight. Let's talk about those highlights, and it's Bryce Gervais getting his 26th of the season.
Gervais makes it 1-0 from Franklin and Leitner at 3:21 of the first period. That was the only goal in the first period of the game. Then we'll get a look at Dylan Marganary coming up next in the second period. A great play along the wall here, Zach Steppen. Marganary splits the defenders, goes in and scores. He makes it 2-0 Mavericks on the even strength goal at 2:24. Then on the power play coming up in the second period, Renz will score from the blue line of Blast. Gets through everybody from Drabluck and Perfetto, and it's 2-1, and that's where we were after 2 periods of play. Getting into the third period now.
Third period is McClure. A lot of net to work with there. He gets his 10th of the season from Palmquist and Nelson. That was just 46 seconds into a power play tally for the Mavericks. But then McKay would make it a much more interesting game than we thought it should have been. 3-2 at that time. There you see the blast from McClure as Marganary finishes up with the rebound right up the slot area there. His second of the night, 13th of the season. That came with about 2.5 minutes left in the contest. And boy, those guys, that line tonight was just electric for MSU. And Marganary saw his burst of speed on the goal that he got off the feet from Steppen, and you saw the big blast coming off that rebound from McClure.
Yeah, it was a really good night for them. Shots on goal, 35-22 for the Mavericks. 1 for 6 on the power play after just a screaming on fire night last night on the power play. Penalty minutes you see there. Mavericks winning the faceoffs, but not nearly as decisive as they were last night, 31-24.
Our JBO Real Estate Group player of the game, not a surprise on this one. The guy who ended up with 2 big goals, and they were both big at the time when they were scored. Dylan Marganary comes up with, again, 2 goals tonight, his 12th and 13th on the season. And Dan, just his speed, and at times when he gets that roll going, you know, you can see the combination of skills that he has just makes it pretty lethal.
Yeah, he's so dangerous. He's so fast. He's so long and so skilled. He's a great shot. And if he gets it going through the playoffs here, the Mavericks are really going to be tough.
Again, Dylan Marganary, our JBO Real Estate player of the game. JBO Real Estate does the little things that make a big difference. Contact Nancy Weekman, 507-382-9212 to contact her for all of your real estate needs. Again, JBO Real Estate Group, doing the little things that make a big difference. Also have a chance here to maybe check out some of the out-of-town scores from around the WCHA in this first round of playoffs, as well as those finishing up from other collegiate conference games, and also the Big Ten finishing up their regular season as well.
And we'll get a look at those scores here, as I know that the Gophers won over Penn State tonight. Here we go, finally. Ferris State and Bemidji tied at 2 in overtime. If Ferris wins, they have punched their ticket. Bemidji State wins, and they'll play Sunday night. Michigan Tech shuts out Alabama Huntsville 3-0 tonight, so they get a weekend sweep, but it was tough fought. Bowling Green with the sweep over Northern Michigan 4-1. St. Cloud beat Nebraska Omaha 3-1. Denver is leading UMD 3-0. CC and North Dakota tied at 2. That's kind of interesting. The Gophers win their 4th straight conference title, their 2nd straight Big Ten title, beating Kent State tonight 6-2. Ohio State shuts out Wisconsin. Wisconsin with their worst season in the school's history. Michigan State beats Michigan at Michigan, so Michigan fails to win the Big Ten title, and the Gophers come up with a win to win it. Yale shuts out Harvard 2-0. Western Michigan over Miami, and Merrimack at Boston. You see Boston there. I think Eichel had 4 more assists today.
So our out-of-town scores, and then we'll punch in where we have as far as this point in the Final Five bracketing. Of course, our win here, Minnesota State, a 4-2 win over Lake Superior. So the Mavericks move on. Michigan Tech comes up with the win tonight over Huntsville after the 3 overtime win last night. And then you also mentioned Dan Bowling Green defeating Northern Michigan. So everything is set other than that game up at Bemidji between Bemidji State and Ferris State that's in overtime.
But again, if you look at that bracket, that doesn't mean that the Mavericks are playing Michigan Tech. These are the 3 teams that are in. They will reseed this, and then we'll know who we play coming up after possibly later on tonight if Ferris State wins.
But with both Bowling Green and Michigan Tech winning, that means the Mavericks will end up getting either the Bemidji State.
It's just who it is.
Yep.
But when you're right across from each other, it looks like we'd be playing Tech, and that's not the way it is.
Nope. It's going to be either, again, the Bemidji or Ferris State next Friday night. The Mavericks opening up the next round, the Final 5, and everything at this point now gets a little more interesting. It's single elimination. Again, the Mavericks know they will move on to the NCAA tournament, but they do want that Broadmoor Trophy. They want both the trophies, which is a really tough combination to pull off.
They've got the Broadmoor, they've got the McNaughton, but it's the Broadmoor from last year. They need this year's Broadmoor Trophy, so they have them both at the same time, because technically they had to give that one back from last year already. So you want to pick it up this next weekend in St. Paul, and then you want to go get a regional championship, and then you want to bring the Big Cup home after that.
So many people to thank. We don't really have time to get into it, but it has been a blast bringing you MSU hockey this year. Obviously, if they're ranked 1 or 2 in the country really since Christmas, it has been a lot of fun for us to work with the students from Bethany Lutheran College. And the season that Mike Hastings, we talked about the 6 seniors, what the Mavericks have done this year truly has been a special year of hockey here in Mankato.
Oh, certainly. They have beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. They've beaten the teams that you didn't know whether they were going to beat or not. And they've just done a fantastic job this year. The most wins in school history and more to come. A regular season WCHA crown, which had never happened before. Huge crowds, many nights. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful season. And the only bad thing for us is it's over for us.
It's all over, but we'll be back, we hope, in October. And we hope to bring you at that time what could be a national championship team. We'll have to see where the Mavericks take this thing out over the next month. But we, Dan and myself, certainly want to thank Coach Hastings and everybody associated with hockey over at Minnesota State Mankato. It's been a great year. But again, finally, one more time here from downtown Mankato, on behalf of the students from Bethany Lutheran College, Dan McCarger and myself, Don Westfall, we thank everyone for watching tonight, this season. And again, the Mavericks tonight with the win. They get the sweep over Lake Superior State tonight, a 4-2 win. Minnesota State dropping the Lakers, and they move on to the Final 5 next weekend in St. Paul. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next October.